Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Making sure and like and subscribe to the channel is a great way to make sure that you're helping out and kind of giving back to the channel, right? I don't ask for money. I don't have a Patreon. I just ask that you subscribe to the channel and help us grow our viewership and help get the messages out there that we're putting forth. It's very important even if you disagree. And that's the biggest thing to remember, that when it comes to firearms, there are trainers that I disagree with. The great John Lovell, there's things that I disagree with him on. The great James Yeager, there's things that I disagree with him on, right? So there are things that as firearms trainers and as firearms people, we are going to disagree on, and that's okay. So even if you disagree with certain points, I would ask that you go ahead and like and subscribe to the channel and post it down below in your comments. Be polite, be professional. Say, hey, I disagree with you. Here's why. I'm fine with that. I have no problem with people disagreeing with me in the comments. Just don't be a dick, right? Because that's what ends up pissing people off, and you get then you start the comment wars and everything. It's drama nobody needs. Okay, you can see our training room is coming along, guys. I'm sorry, there's no furniture obviously yet in here because we're still working. We still got trim and stuff going up. So you can see we've got tongue and groove going all the way around, but. And obviously this is where we're going to be setting up our reloading station for classes and stuff like that. So really, really cool and really excited here. We'll be done. I was hoping to be done about a week and a half ago, but such is life, such is construction. We're still about a week and a half out. So anyways, that's kind of where we are right now. Now let's talk about what you guys came here, the title of the video. Can you drop can you drop a slide on an empty chamber, right? And so the fact that I'm fairly reluctant to do that lets you know my opinion on this. But let's get into the details. Let's get into why we can and cannot do that, and why there's so much kind of myth and lore and everything surrounding it. Now, first thing I'll tell you, you guys noticed I'm wearing a Canic shirt. I don't even own a Canic. They're not sponsors of the channel. I just simply happened to get the shirt at a competition, and so that's why I'm wearing it. So take that for what it's worth. Anyways, can you drop the slide on an empty chamber? So this is always kind of a hotly debated topic, and especially when it comes to 1911s. Nobody really thinks about this when it comes to like Glocks and striker-fired pistols, or even things like a CZ or a Beretta, right, that are double action, single action. But when it comes to 1911s, there's the lore on it is that you don't drop a slide on an empty chamber, right? You ride it forward like that. You never ever just hit the button and drop the slide. Now, there are a lot of opinions on it. I will tell you this, the opinion that is most prevalent from firearm enthusiasts, 1911 enthusiasts, and oh, by the way, 1911 custom gun makers is that you never do that. Now, Bill Wilson, he talks about on his 1911s that he'll have people do that to display models all day long, and he just plans on those display models. At the end of the day, they're going to put a new sear in there. And that's what happens and what people don't realize. When a hammer comes back, so you have your sear here that engages, right? So the trigger pushes on the sear and disengages it from the hammer. When the hammer rotates back, this locks in here like that. You push on the trigger and it pops that out, the hammer goes forward, okay? Simple enough. Problem is that this connection here is not perfect. And what happens is that this connection here actually is a little bit high, right? So it's going to be high like, obviously exaggerated, but high like that, okay? So then when you drop the slide forward, it doesn't ride the slide forward like it does if there's a bullet in there. It slams forward, hitting that and hitting those 2 points. Those 2 points are real small, and the problem is that they're hardened steel and everything, but they're still real small metal points, and over and over and over and over again can cause those to chip and to break. Now, have I ever seen a sear break from this? No. I have seen sears chip, and I believe it was caused from this, but I've never seen one that like broke off. Now, chipping just ruins the trigger pull, so it's an easy fix. It doesn't create a safety issue. Problem is that if that sear were to break, it's actually a safety issue. So this is one thing that 1911 guys from the past don't consider, because the old 1911 guys will say, I did this all day long on my Milspec 1911 when I was in the Marines or whatever, no problems, and we all did it, and hundreds of thousands of times. Okay, cool, got it, Roger, tracking. And you're missing the point. The point is that we don't know which gun it's going to be bad on, which gun maybe has a defect in the metallurgy, right? We don't know that, and so that's why we kind of baby that connection. The other reason we baby that connection is because modern 1911s, those are tuned, right? It's different than your Milspec ones that weren't tuned, that just used the old John Browning design. Now these connections are tuned so you have a nicer, crisper, cleaner trigger pull, right? So this is what we get when we start looking at like Wilsons and Staccatos and Nighthawks and stuff like that that are custom 1911s. We get a tuned sear and hammer disconnect relationship, and so that's the reason that we want to make sure that we're actually doing that, is so that that connection stays nice and crisp and sharp and polished. Okay. The other reason is that if that sear were to break, there is a half cock mechanism. A lot of people don't realize that half cock is another notch in the hammer, so it would stop it from going forward if this were to break, right? But the problem is that if it's the actual sear that breaks, then the half cock has nothing to hit and the hammer goes forward. Again, this was less of a problem on old Milspec 1911s because they were carrying it outside the waistband on a duty holster. So if one went off going into the ground, maybe into a foot, it wasn't catastrophic. Now we carry these guns, appendix carry, we have them, this 4 o'clock carry or whatever, to where it's either aiming at our balls, our femoral artery, or at our ass. And so what happens then is that if we have a sear failure, right, and it were to engage that and then miss the half cock joint, then all of a sudden we've got a pretty major problem on our hands. So this is why we really want to avoid dropping the slide on the empty chamber. Now, let me tell you, this is 1911 thing, but these principles apply to all guns. I don't drop the slide anymore on empty chambers, and I used to. You'll probably find it in some of my old videos that, like, taking my Glocks and just slapping that slide release. I don't do that anymore. Actually, now all my guns I do it like this, and there's a reason for that. Whenever they have an empty chamber, one is I want you guys that are of the opinion that it does no harm to the gun, I want you to ask yourself one question: what do you gain from it? And just think about that. You gain nothing from it other than you look cool and it sounds cool when you're doing a YouTube video. It looks a lot better than riding it forward, okay? So you gain nothing out of doing that. So that's why that's one big reason. So this, even if I'm only right a fraction, a very small percentage of the time, I gain something from it. If you're wrong at all, you've lost. If you're right, you gain nothing. So think about that before you sit there and say, well, it doesn't matter, it doesn't hurt anything. Now, the next point I'll bring to you is, like I said, I quit doing this on all my guns. Why did I quit doing this on all my guns? Surely it's safe to do with Glocks. Yeah, you're probably right, it is safe. But what about those ones that have, again, a fault in the metallurgy or an issue, or just simply have a really, really high round count on them? Then all of a sudden, when that slide goes forward, it's pushing on those barrel lugs when it slams forward, because there's nothing to slow it down as it enters into that battery. And so you're slamming into those barrel lugs and everything, and so you're actually slamming into multiple different parts of the gun all at the same time for no reason. There's no benefit to it. You gain nothing by hitting that slide release and sending the slide home, right? So it doesn't do you any good. In that case, then, okay, we've just put a bunch of wear on those components for no reason, and it's components that aren't designed. Yeah, the battery of a bullet going off and chambering is actually less than this battery of that coming forward on an empty chamber. So because of that, I have stopped doing it with all my guns. Now, Amanda Lynn still does it with some of hers, but again, she doesn't shoot 1911, so it's not quite as detrimental. But as we're continuing our progression, right, our training in firearms as well, even though we instruct and we own a school, we're still always progressing. So is Amanda Lynn, and so she is focusing now on stopping doing that and trying to remember not to do it. Problem is that we get in competition so much, and they're like, okay, if clear, unloaded, or if finish, unload, so clear, slide forward, pull the trigger, and holster. And we're so used to just hitting that slide forward and pulling the trigger that we forget that, okay, let's ride the slide forward, pull the trigger, and holster. Okay, guys, thanks again for watching. I'm gonna let y'all go with that. If you disagree, again, it's okay. Post it down in the comments. Let's talk about it. These are my points. This is why I feel this way. This is why I don't ride the slide forward on any guns that I own. And I will tell you here that kind of the proof of the pudding is I know no 1911 gunsmiths, not one, that will tell you it's okay to ride or to send that slide home. They all will tell you, don't do it unless there's a bullet in there. Thanks again for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. We will talk to you all next time.